Parts 2 and 3 on the iconic Football Stand series are now available for Patreon and Apple Podcast subscribers only. There's also a brand new episode exclusive just to Super listeners, which will never make it onto the main podcast, on Jack Grealish. In fact, it's Jack Grealish Part 2. All 3 of those episodes are live and they will never be heard on the main podcast. If you'd like to listen to them, plus the back catalogue of all the other episodes and listen to everything ad-free, then please consider becoming a Super listener. To the Football for Kids podcast, and welcome to yet another new episode. This is about a player we last did an episode on all the way back in February 2023. It was about 300 or more episodes ago. He's a player who is loved by almost everyone in football, and one of the kindest and most brilliant characters in British sport. And he's recently moved clubs. Of course, in this episode, we're going to be diving into a part 2 on the wonderful Jack Grealish. Right then, so we last did an episode on Jack Grealish all the way back in February 2023. In that episode, like I do on all the players we cover on this show, I took you lot on a journey from Jack's birthday all the way to February 2023. And just in case you've forgotten about that episode, or maybe you've not listened to it, Jack Grealish has achieved some incredible things in his footballing career. From his early days at Highgate United, to the Aston Villa youth teams and the senior team, to record-breaking transfer fees to Manchester City and beyond. Not to mention being a key part of England's success in the major competitions, Jack Grealish is some player, and a player I always enjoy watching. So, let's rewind to 2023, where our last episode on Jack ended. Jack Grealish is still very much part of the Manchester City squad. But this wasn't any old Manchester City squad. Jack was a part of the first ever treble-winning Manchester City squad, when City finished 5 points above Arsenal in the 2022-23 season, when City beat Manchester United 2-1 in the FA Cup final at Wembley Stadium in an old Manchester derby, when Gundogan scored in the first minute to break a record, and of course, the Manchester City who won the Champions League when they beat Inter Milan on that famous night in Istanbul. Jack Grealish became a treble winner at the end of that season. What was great about Grealish in that season was he was getting a bit of a hard time from some of the pundits and journalists who questioned whether he should be playing in a team at that level. If he should be playing alongside the likes of Rodri, Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden and the endless list of incredible players when that nearly unbeatable Manchester City side were on the form of their lives. But Grealish, he did what he does best. He made them eat their words. For example, there was a game in February when Bernardo Silva passed the ball into the box, and who was there to strike it, and bang, straight into the back of the net? Of course, it was Jack Grealish. He also played a huge part in their FA Cup success and the Champions League win as well. Afterwards, he was interviewed, and rightly so, he was emotional. He couldn't quite believe what they'd done. He and his teammates, they had won the treble. They were treble winners. Jack said, "It's what you work your whole life for, isn't it?" I'm just so happy, man. I'm just so happy. The celebrations that followed Manchester City's Champions League triumph didn't just crown Jack Grealish a winner, it turned him into a folk hero. He didn't merely celebrate, he threw himself headfirst into the party like a man auditioning for a role as the most fun human alive. He said, "For the past 24 hours, I've had the best day and night of my life. I don't think I've had any sleep at all." He was the very heartbeat of that parade, inexplicably sporting a high visibility vest like a rogue builder, screaming out songs of Oasis like Wonderwall from the top of his lungs. And at the same time, he was quite literally being baptised in champagne by Erling Haaland. What a 24 hours that turned out to be for Jack Grealish. Jack carried his confidence into the 23-24.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.